Go ahead and double check that your SDK path matches what you see here, or similarly. Again, for Windows users, it will be a little different. But you do need to actually point to where the SDK is for Android Studio to be at its best. All right, so let's go ahead and see if we can get an application running for the first time and make sure our setup is exactly how it should be. So I went ahead and downloaded Delta Bartok and have the folder right here. I'm just going to go back, and I'm going to go to Open Project. I'm going to select that particular folder. This is where everything will be for your projects. You'll see kind of a Gradle folder and then the actual application name. You actually just want to select the folder to open a project. And now here you are, running one of the most powerful IDEs on the planet. So before we start actually running and testing this thing out, I want you to notice something. Down here is a little indicator. Sometimes if you open up a project, it's got to do some configuration in the beginning. So don't just jump ahead and start clicking things. Wait for any type of information down here to finish. Remember, it's doing a lot of work for you. Please let it. Now, before we even open a file of Java and actually start looking at code, let's configure Android Studio to be what a professional would really want it to be. I'm going to open up this little folder here. Again, right here is the projects kind of area. This is just a file structure for your project. But I want to just show you the normal look and feel of Android Studio is missing two key things. One, there's no line numbers, so we're going to turn those on. Two, this particular color scheme is very bright white. In order to reduce the type of fatigue that you would normally have with just white being in your face all the time, we're going to choose the Darkula theme, which is going to make Android Studio look a lot cooler as well. So that's here under Android Studio. I'm going to go to Preferences. The first thing I'm going to change is take Theme and change it to Darkula. Then I'm going to go over here to Editor, open up the editor, and then go down to Appearance and click this guy right here, Show Line Numbers. Then I'm going to click Apply, and it's going to say, hey, you're going to need to restart Android Studio. I'm fine with that. And now you're actually running a Android Studio IDE set up the way a professional would use it. So let me give you a small little tour. Here we have the code window. This is where you're going to be spending most of your time. Over here is your project window, which I kind of suggested before. Each of these are folder files, so you can navigate to all the different Java files and resources that you want on the left-hand pane. On top of that, there's a lot of hotkeys that you can use to maneuver around your windows very quickly. I can make this disappear and come back using Command 1. Again, this is one of the most powerful IDEs on the planet. I'm going to actually turn off my keyboard UI pop-up just so you can see that when I start typing things in Android Studio, I'm just going to get information overload. Things are going to pop up that are going to try to anticipate what I want to say before I say it. And as we go through the program, you're going to see more and more of exactly how to use those autocomplete utilities to your advantage. But for now, let's go ahead and get something actually running. I'm going to go over here to this res folder, and that's usually where Android Studio will put anything that's a resource, so images or descriptions of how things look. In fact, I'm going to go into res and layout and double-click this XML file right here so you can see this really awesome layout editor. Normally, you would have to do this kind of stuff in code. Back in the day, you had to do all this stuff manually. However, now you actually have the ability to click on things that you see and change their properties. So for instance, if I wanted to click right here on this full screen content, which is these words here that say Bartok, I could come down here to where it says text color, and I could actually change that. I might want to change this to maybe I want something a little more snazzy. Maybe I want something like maybe a real blue, not just a light blue, a deeper blue. Great, so I've already made a change in what the UI is going to look like. And underneath the hood, Android Studio took all of those particular clicks and converted it into the necessary description of XML that we'll be going into in the future. but it did all that for me. It's a really efficient way to be able to make changes and get feedback about those changes on the fly. Not only that, but I can actually start going through here and change what device I'm using to see this on, whether it be a tablet or a phone of all different types of resolution types. I can even make custom ones and see it right there in front of me, so I can anticipate exactly what my application will look like for a wide variety of people. So you've made a change to this application. You might be wondering, what exactly are we doing right now? What is this app? Well, if you've ever been in a large, crowded area, such as a bar, and you want to say something to someone far away, this application solves that. It's called BarTalk, and it's going to be the first application you're going to run. All you need to do is go over here to the play button, click it, and you'll see that Gradle, the system which compiles things, is working for us down here. And when it's done, it's going to give us a pop-up that says, hey, your compiled application is ready to go. Where do you want to deploy it? Now, normally you would only have the opportunity to do the emulator, and you'd have to create a virtual Android device. You also could plug in an Android phone now if you have one, and use that to actually see your application run. But you'll notice that I have a running device here. This is actually not something that's plugged in. This is the other tool that I'm really excited to be using in this program with you guys. This is Genymotion. And rather than using a software emulator which comes with Android Studio, we're going to be using Genymotion as a transparent layer to turn your computer into a very powerful cell phone that you can set up and use much quicker and much faster. Now, this is the Genymotion emulator. The instructions for actually setting Genymotion up are better for you to just follow along online and install. I happen to have set up a custom phone for 4.3, not KitKat. I'm going one level behind. But I do want to show you one trick with this emulator in case you happen to be wanting your first experience to be with your own Android phone. If you go over into your settings for your phone, and you go down to About Phone, you'll see this thing here that says build number. Well, there's a little trick to turn you from being an Android user into an Android developer by touching that over and over again. And I'm clicking and clicking, 3 steps away, 2 steps away. When you do this one more time, you unlock a secret menu that if I now go back, I will see here in my menu, Developer Options. If you click on that, you want to click this box right here to enable USB debugging. That is going to enable your phone to now work as a developer phone and allow you to connect the power of Android Studio to a real device. For now, though, I'm going to leave this alone because I'm using Genymotion, and that's what I'm going to be using primarily to show you around. Rather than doing that normal hello world kind of thing, we're going to actually have our first proof that Android Studio is running be a useful app. An app that you can actually go out tonight and use in public. Let's try it. I'm going to click this particular device. I'm going to click OK. Now you're seeing all this stuff pop up, and we're going to go over what those tools mean. But right now, the debugging area has basically shown up. We didn't even have to select it. It's just coming up, giving us a log of how things are going. I'm going to go back over to Genymotion. If I were actually to have this on a device in a crowded area, I would just touch it. What do you want to say? I want to say, I made this. And now your environment is all set up, as well as having just made an application that you can go out and use right now.